Welcome, welcome, welcome. Canada Startup meets Lead Pedal Radio tonight on a topic about NFTs. Hello, Bill Wilson, and how are you today?
Doing well, thanks, Dave. Looking forward to another fun session.
Fun and informative. And today, it's for some people, it'll be the first time they've heard the term NFT. I understand it's probably been a few weeks for you, but you've been doing a deep dive in understanding NFTs, exploring it. So, Bill, what is an NFT?
So it's non fungible, because the first time I heard, I thought everybody was saying fundable, but it's FUNGIBLE, non fungible tokens. And from what I'm learning, it's your digital version of having like a certificate or a piece of certificate for a piece of art to say that it's unique. That's probably the simplest thing that I'm gathering so far.
Well, so far we've been exploring it with artists. We've been looking at it with investors. We've been looking at it with technology people. And we've been able to bring together the art world with blockchain and democratization and Ethereum as the mode to be able to put that together. And from some of the studying that you've been doing, what are the types of things that people are doing right now to create and develop the market from your perspective?
Well, I think the big things right now that's going crazy in the media is art. I mean, we've seen that Christies has jumped on board with Beeple. I think that's his name, with that big 69 million the purchase or NFT, that sale of his digital art. The other one, even Banksy, that he's even getting on board, where he did a video of some of his original art being destroyed, but it's been captured on video, and the token has been created for it so that it's still going to live on, and you'll have the original plus the whole video of it being destroyed. So it increases the uniqueness. The other part I'm seeing about it is the long-term. There is a long-term game that focusing just on the art piece right now. The traditional thing, I guess, that everybody's grown up with up until now is that the artist creates his work, it's sold, and that's the last bit he has with it. Well, now, through the capabilities of all the recording that happens through the blockchain, a transaction history can happen. And what I'm seeing is there's the whole story component now. There's, if you did your piece of art and you put it up there, and then, you know, as time goes by, your story builds and builds and builds, and, you know, all of a sudden Dave Rogers' story is amazing. That value is going to go up huge, because now Bill Wilson's going to want a piece of that story, and then so on and so forth, you know. And that's another way that we see everything happening on the art side. And I'm also starting to learn the different models of how the artists can choose to do things. Like, questions have arisen, you know, what happens to the original piece when somebody's used a painting? The first and foremost thing is, when you move it to the digital world, you have that uniqueness. And then, so you can keep that and get rid of the original piece, because you may look at it, okay, it's got no more value. You could sell both. You could say that your artwork that you created was like your tool, you're part of your resources to build your digital art. So there's a whole bundle of things that are happening with there. But the other part that I found that I think is going to be even bigger is the whole gaming world that's going to be part of this. So I'm seeing art as just a small piece. The other thing I'm starting to see is that we have the crypto world. We have other worlds, so like the art world, the gaming world. I think it's going to bring a whole bundle of new people together and build something way up here that's going to go. I think it's going to be around for a long time. I don't think it's something that people need to look at as a short game. I think need to go in there as a long game and start getting your creative hat on, because there's going to be a lot of new ways to do stuff.
Well, I think the beautiful thing about it is there's a whole lot of opportunities for people to get involved in different ways.
Yes.
So imagine if you're a 90-year-old artist right now, it's not necessarily about you going and learning all about Ethereum and the blockchain and ways to tokenize it. It might be a team. It might be 3 or 4 or 5 people who develop some expertise on marketing or expertise on digitization, building communities, and can work with artists as one example, and then create a bigger marketplace for that. Another thing that you pointed out in one of our discussions is that the artist often just gets paid once in a transaction. In this case, there could be a trailing fee, a 5%, a 10% fee that could be going back to the artist each time it's transacted.
Yes.
And so because of the blockchain, the way that it keeps a record of the transactions, the artist can actually collect some type of residual on the art. And so that's something that's being worked on in the market. We did witness, and I guess it's the case study we're going to talk a little bit about, was the $69 million transaction that Beeble did this week in collaboration again with Christies. So Christies is now on board. So on one hand, people could say, why would Christies get involved? They're already the biggest player in the art industry in the world. Well, this is the idea here, is that it's not about a limited pie. It's what is the potentiality here?
Yes.
If you were to be looking at art right now, because one of the things that you pointed out was collectibles, is that before we used to collect hockey cards, or these days Pokemon cards, art autographs. These are all originals that can be put into a digital format. The latest this past week was Jack Dorsey from Twitter. The very first tweet has been put up on auction. And so that's the type of thing that can be packaged in a new way, where it can be not only a collectible, not only a verifiable collectible, yet a transactional, easily transacted collectible. So of this arena, what sort of interests you, and what might get you involved in perhaps making a small investment, or potentially a bigger role in this emerging market?
I guess as far as the collectibles, like the hockey cards, the sports cards, that sort of thing, that's what's really got me interested. I'd like to find out with that. Now, the other part that I'm very curious about, I think there's an opportunity to gain more enjoyment out of your acquisition. So, like we've talked in the past, people have purchased paintings for, like $450 million and stuff like that. And then it sits in a vault. You have the prestige of saying, hey, I own this piece, but then you can't share it. All you can do is with your word of mouth. Well, I think now there may be opportunity where you could have the digital version of it and put it into some sort of monitor or some sort of media piece that you could then be able to share it with everybody. And you're still going to have all the protection through the through your token and everything. And if you choose to have the original as well, you can keep it locked up and have that, but then you could still share everything that you have. So I think that might be another part that will expand for everybody. And that's one part I'm interested in.
Well, this is the beautiful idea here, is that here in Canada, there's going to be marketplaces that are opening up. There's going to be communities that are opening up. There's going to be opportunities to bring in some of your skills in some of the creativity with Doodly, or creativity with marketing, that may put you in a position that can assist artists, perhaps getting their products digitized and potentially sold online, perhaps even being part of a market maker where there's a little bit of the buying and selling. There's going to probably be no shortage of products available. Again, it's going to be, what can we do to create a environment where there is a bigger demand than supply. And in that area, what in your research so far, what have you found that the types of transactions that are going on that might be of interest to our listeners today?
The gaming area, there's a huge amount of things happening there. Right now when people, when you get your little app on the phone and you get the app for free and then you buy stuff within the game, there's that whole market that I think will expand through this. The other market I think that's going to even will happen is, when you go to a sporting, any event, sporting event, concert, anything like that, and you buy a ticket, there's going to be a market for digital tickets that are going to be collectibles and that sort of thing. So I think there's going to be a huge amount as more people get into it and start to throw their hats in. I think there's going to be a whole bundle of different markets that come up. And I guess one of the things that sort of caught me today is taking like an old let's go with like the art gallery that we've been talking about over the last little while, right? Maybe it's a time for a brainstorm to see, okay, we've got the art gallery, we've got technology, we've got other markets, bringing everything together and creating that whole new market to go after. I think there's opportunity to create a whole new worlds.
Well, let me ask a question. We have a young person here, Michael from Michigan. If you were a young artist, Bill, perhaps doing watercolor or oil, would you start taking digital photos and then start posting them on an account? Would you look to digitize them? What would you do if you were a young artist these days?
That's a great question. So I guess if you were looking at it that you're like a young person getting into it, I would definitely research what's going to happen to go that route. I would definitely go that route, and looking at it more on a business side than the artist side. So the artist, I have my creativity, I can make my work, and then I would still look at maximizing the number of ways I can make money with it. So I would still create my work. I would still put it into the digital world. I would look at the route of being able to sell both pieces, and then looking at how to create the royalties and residual, like we talked about, that's going to go on down the road. And I guess the other part to even consider from the business side is, do I want to go with one of, so make that one unique kind of piece, or do I do multiples and say like it's a collection, one of 30 or something like that? But I would definitely look more in the business way and looking how I'm going to keep making money forever and ever.
Well, let me follow up with that with another question, because Michael's got some great questions. It says, where would you suggest as a beginner start posting? Should I be getting a wallet? What would be one or two tips that you might have for a young artist? And I'll answer the question after you, Bill.
Okay. Well, my first thought is to keep educating yourself. I would check out OpenSea, so OpenSea. They seem to be one of the places where it's easier for newbies to get involved. The other one is Rarible. I think that's Rarible. Check out those two. They have some good articles there on how to create, how to post. But the other part to even consider too is, as much as you throw it in, as much as you put it up on the digital side, you then start to have to realize that you still have to market yourself. It's not like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. I think you still need to market yourself and build your story, because that's going to be a component of the whole thing. Make sure you keep building your story.
I think you got some great tips there, Bill, and the curiosity would be one of the key ones, and then the practice. And I think that's one of the things that when I work with young entrepreneurs or people who are looking to build their business, build their brand, there's this element of practicing and going through learning cycles. And so one of the young people that we were talking to just last week, Justin, my son, went out and bought his first NFT. So he made a small transaction. He wasn't overly thrilled with it, yet it's the first of many, I think. It's the same thing when he introduced us, you and I, to Bitcoin. And found different ways to invest in Bitcoin. And whether you go and open up a wallet and start buying a little piece of Bitcoin, BTC, or Ethereum, or you go and you pick up a ETF, an exchange traded fund like a GBTC, which is Graystroke's fund to buy Bitcoin. Or right now, Canada just started a ETF for Bitcoin called BTCC. And I hope I'm not confusing you as we're using all of these initials, yet there is a lingo, there's a language to this. And so, Michael, my comment there is there's a language to it. I think it would be such a cool experiment for you to take one of your pictures, maybe take a print of it and find a way. Perhaps you buy one first and then you learn how to create your own. And then you're going to be sitting there with your own and saying, okay, now what do I do? And so then you start asking questions, you start getting involved in other groups. You might come back next week or next month on Canada Startup here or Lead Pedal Radio and have another question. And that question, well, now I got 5 pieces of NFTs. What do I do now? And so that would be the next question to finding a potential buyer or a potential investor. And this is how business starts, is that there are different people with different skills, different experiences. And if you can create enthusiasm, a buzz, a value, then there's going to be some transactions. And I believe that there are going to be a lot of people who just create the art and don't know what to do with it. Just like right now, if your house is full of a bunch of art that you've never learned how to market it, well, perhaps it's learning that marketing piece, or perhaps it's learning how to use the technology. Yet as a young artist, wouldn't it be cool to go learn how to do it and maybe for others be able to do it where it takes you half an hour, but maybe this famous artist who will never do it on their own, you can go to them and then you have a value exchange. And that's a little bit about what Canada Startup is about, is look for ways that you can be of value to others. And so as an artist, you can be nurturing your own art. Think about the possible contra trade. If you go meet a famous artist, he might help you a little bit with becoming a better artist, and you could help him with perhaps putting some of his art online. And then you could collaborate, and both could have an opportunity to monetize some of that value, some of that art, some of that creativity. And so that's some of the ways that I would be inviting a young person today is go do a transaction, and then what you learn is so much that we just can't tell you right now, because what you will learn is the ways to do it. And that's, again, whether we're talking about getting better at sales, better at marketing, that's just one component. Like Beeble to do his $69 million deal. Can you imagine him a year ago going to Christies and say, well, I want you to sell my art? Christies is probably going to say, go away. Yet because they had a team, he had a team around him. He had a market around him. He had followers around him. Christie had a global market. They came together and said, let's do this together. Do you think they were both surprised? I have a feeling, right, Bill?
Yeah, definitely. Nobody was expecting that to happen.
Well, again, last month he did one, and I believe in his own world, he was able to do it for $6 million. And then when Christie's world came in, it got a 10 times multiple. So today, this thing about you and I just having this chat today, we have a few listeners. We'll post it on YouTube, on Continual Shift, on YouTube. Go check out some of those videos, because Bill and I have been talking about investing in stocks lately, NFTs, non-fungibles, the cryptocurrencies. So we're here not only sharing some ways to do it, we're also inviting people to share some of their experiences. And today we were going to have an art gallery managing director join us. Unfortunately, he got called away on some urgent business. Yet that's the thing about entrepreneurship. That's the thing about business, is that there's always going to be a pivot. There's always going to be a new market. That's why when Bill says play the long game, if you're a young person, long game for me is next month. Bill has got a little bit more patience. Bill has been pulling that chin for years, and that's why he's able to play the long game. So, Bill, what question? I know you were going to ask some questions, yet perhaps we could follow up. Anything else that you would want to give to our young artist questionnaire, or me, or perhaps anyone in the audience today?
Well, when we were originally thinking of, chatting with Ari with art gallery thing, I wanted to understand a bit more of, what are the 2 or 3 most common things of why people go to an art gallery. And what I wanted to understand was, my wife and I are big fans of Disney, and one of their big things is, it's called plussing. So how can you actually take things to the next level? And just, whether it be that small little detail that makes your visitors want to keep coming back. And so I wanted to understand what would be 2 or 3 things that you could plus in the art gallery world that, might be able to use NFTs, digital technology, that sort of thing. I wanted to see what would be the chances of moving an art gallery into that world. Maybe it's just, we need the beginner's eyes to look at an art gallery, for example, and see, what can be done, what can be, make it more, I don't know, I'm not too sure if the word's friendly, or bringing in new markets, bringing new people together that might create new relationships that will take it to that next level. So that was some of the stuff I was just wondering about today.
I'll answer the question because, again, I've played in the arena. When I lived in Hong Kong, I was involved in a number of galleries.
Okay.
And when I was in Singapore, I actually set up a artist in a gallery, a small office, home office. And so the idea there in Singapore particularly was creating a environment where he could be an artist part of the time. And then we were able to work with him to become an educator. And so he got a gig with one of the local colleges, one of the art colleges. So he started having a revenue stream from teaching. And okay. So when we took an artist, when we first met him, he was actually considered a starving artist. And part of my role was to work on his mindset, because many artists are starving artists because the mindset is poverty. The mindset is, I'm going to be ripped off. The mindset is trauma driven. And so my experience of working with people with trauma over the years really gave me some nice insights on, if we were going to work collaboratively with him, a big part of his mindset, particularly when he was under stress, it was going to revert back to his traumas, his early childhood traumas. And he had traumas around money, and he had traumas around not being good enough, and he had traumas about being bipolar. And so these were things that I worked with him, focused on uplifting that, reframing it, releasing it. I must admit, unfortunately, I wasn't successful. What happened was, the deal was we were going to get a revenue share with him. And we took him from being starving, not being able to afford a place, to making over 10 grand a month.
Wow.
And he had a combination of getting revenue from being a lecturer. We also then encouraged them on the weekends to run workshops, because people want to learn art. They want to break through their own traumas about art. And so we were able to, within about 45 days, we took him into having 3 cool revenue streams. 1, lecturing. 2, running cool workshops in his small office, home office. And 3, the value of his art started to take off. Because before, when he was just trying to sell things at a couple $100, when he started a following of students, of expats whose wives were taking courses from him, his ability to go from $300 to $600 to $1,600 to $2,500 for a piece of art allowed him to totally transform his financial situation. Yet, regretfully, I wasn't able to help him release all of his traumas, and he never believed he needed to pay us our meals. And so when you're in that situation, then you've got to decide whether you want to sue them or not. And we seriously looked at it. Yet if you get into the arena of having to sue people, that arena it can be energy sucking. Now, it would have cost us about $37,000 to take him up on charges, and just decided not to. Yet that's one of those things that you make that decision. Yeah, you have to be aware of, and especially now in North America, especially I guess in America, you really have to get aware of what's going on in the legal context, because pretty much everybody sues everybody. So since that time, I've probably been involved in about 20 different lawsuits over different things, because that's the nature of business these days. In fact, if you look at the biggest business in the world, you look at the Oracles and the Facebooks and the Microsofts, they all have multi-billion-dollar lawsuits against each other. It's part of the arena of being business these days. And if you're frightened by it, you're probably not going to be able to scale your business. So
you're right. Yeah.
That was a little bit of that experience. So to bring it back to your question, if you could create either online or face-to-face environments where people get to learn, they get to express, they get to draw, they get to paint, they get to be creative, they potentially be able to be an investor, because I have a feeling a lot of people, if they could make money investing, money perhaps even buying and selling, there's going to be a portion of the population that would love to do that. There would also be a portion of the population would just love to be able to do the art if their art would move or be moved by their agents. And again, you got to remember, agents in the sporting industry, like you're familiar with, how much do they get? Do they get 10, 20, 30%?
Yeah, the more services they offer, the more they're making.
And so these days, when you ask about the Disney approach to value add, you got to remember Disney is also continually pivoting. They had no idea we were going to have go into lockdown this past year. Yeah. And they pivoted. In fact, it's fascinating. The main way that they pivoted was because there was an investor who came in, and he was actually a disruptor. He was one of these guys who wanted to hold the board ransom. Right. Because his idea was, no, cut the dividend, cut everything. Let's put all of our resources available to go streaming, online streaming. And they were able to take an 8-year plan and execute in 11 months.
That was incredible.
And so this is what you and I have been talking about over the last 6 months, is that the big boys, the big companies can teach us, because they're facing many of the similar markets, yet just add a few more zeros at the end of the financial year.
Yeah.
So what if you own a gallery right now? There's many of them that have just folded up and they're going to go into liquidation. Now, that's another story that I wanted to share, was when I was in Hong Kong during the Asian crisis, we had a number of galleries that went bankrupt. In fact, a number of my partners from ice hockey actually were given the duty to liquidate the art galleries. And so we were able to go in with a group to liquidate some fantastic Chinese art. And so these pieces were traditionally anywhere from $5 to $50 to $80 to $100,000 for one piece. Wow. And we were able to liquidate it, and they paid off the debt, but then there was some really great deals to be done. So if anyone out there is watching or hear about it, if you know any art galleries that are being forced to liquidate, contact Bill and I. We might be able to work with them in adding value, and might be able to find ways that part of it can be liquidated, yet also it might be redeveloped. And it might be redeveloped in a way that if you're able to let go of all of the debt and you get some restructuring, perhaps Bill and I can go and assist you in re-engineering your art business. And that's something. How cool would that be for you, to be potentially involved in an art business, or a business that was traditionally hanging pictures and having wine and cheese parties, to potentially being involved in the education, being involved in education of art, drawing, community, but also the.
Give me a call. I want to arrange to drop by tomorrow.
the digitizing or the monetizing of their art globally.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool.
See, somebody's calling you about a potential gallery that's looking to go down, and they need to talk to you. So this session today is quite fascinating, because by being part of now Lead Pedal Radio, which means that there's truckers that are going all around North America are listening to our call today. And if they find some galleries, they can reach out to wonderful Bruce, and Bruce will talk to us. And Bruce is an artist also. So there's opportunity to be involved in the art industry as it has to re-engineer itself, because disruption, distraction can lead us to opportunities. And so
Definitely.
that's one of the things that really exciting. And thank you, Michael, for adding that. Yeah, it sounds exciting because when you're involved in something that looks troublesome, it's also opportunistic. The Chinese character for crisis, if you go and do a Google search on the Chinese character, the kanji for crisis is the same character for opportunity.
Yeah.
It just depends on whether you look at it and you're in fear, it's often going to be crisis. Yet if you're curious, you shift it into opportunity.
Definitely.
And so friends who might be listening to it, if you know of an artist who might not be very tech savvy, who would like to potentially work with a young team and maybe not so young team, yet I guess a savvy team, a curious team, reach out, let's talk. Similarly, if you're an art gallery or looking for opportunities to collaborate, build community, that's something that we'll be doing more of in the weeks and months ahead. So, Bill, what excites you as we even this weekend, it was fantastic. You saw Gronk out there from the NFL, and you saw Mahomes out there launching his own art gallery, or actually, I think a museum is what Mahomes has done now. What excites you, or what if you have a magic wand and say in a year, wouldn't it be cool to be part of this in the NFT space, or in the collectible space, or in the gamification space? What excites you?
The in the NFT space, the idea, the gaming and the sports collectibles, that's where I'm very curious. I'm very curious. I want to learn more about what can happen there. I think that world, it's a whole set of different eyes that I've never really experienced or really gotten into, especially with the gaming. But I think it'll be fun to experience, and I think it'll be something that's going to be around for a long time.
And what would be again? You gave some great feedback about people who might want to go check out Rarible or OpenSea. When you've gone on those, what were some things that might have surprised you, or something that you enjoyed, or maybe even something that would get you to take out your credit card to maybe buy?
The stuff that's really caught me the most on those is the virtual and 3D capabilities, where you can put them into like a virtual reality. You'll see some of them that are marked VR, so that's virtual reality. So it looks like, it reminded me of the movie Avatar, that kind of thing, and the Matrix and that sort of thing. It kind of looked like, okay, taking those things and putting them into art, and where you'd have it for a long time. So that was pretty cool. And it seems like it seems like you can pick it up pretty quickly on how to do everything. Like as far as getting started with putting your art on there. I've watched a bit of information on YouTube about that. But yeah, the 3D and the virtual, those things look so cool. I'd like to see, and if they can do this, is if they can make like a 3D sports card, so you can actually have, somebody in there. I don't know if they have like a highlight one. You have a guy scoring a goal, and you see his hands up, but you can rotate it, and that would be pretty cool.
Well, I think Gronk was asked in one of his interviews. He says, "What would you like to get a NFT, a video?" Because right now they're even using video clips.
Yeah.
And his answer was, "Oh, he loves people getting dunked on." So one of the things that he'll go out, and he probably already has, because he's the type of guy who does that. He probably bought somebody's great dunk on somebody. So that would be in your wallet. It would be something that when you're in a bar, you could show somebody, or you could send it to them. It could be a pretty cool. I think there's going to be some pretty cool gifts this year to send people gifts, that traditional gifts of a card or something, piece of art. It could be now the digital art. It might, again, if you think high, it could includes the iPhone.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, that the possibilities that we can explore. I like the idea of what you've just said, because that's, again, opening up a whole new arena of software companies. I'm imagining what Canva is going to be able to do.
Oh.
Can you imagine Canva having an arm that allows people to NFT and then maybe even create the marketplace?
Yes.
That's the beautiful thing about, if you're a business right now and you have the funding and you have the unlimited supplies, that really is what top level entrepreneurs do. Is they don't use money as an excuse. They use it as a resource. And right now, there's so much money available if you are an entrepreneur.
Yes.
If you're stuck in scarcity, and this was something you and I've worked on in the last year, working on your abundance mindset, on the possibilities, noticing that you will have the records of your parents or your grandparents about money, about abundance, yet working collaboratively with people, letting go of some of their beliefs, because right now there is so much liquidity. And now even with Bitcoin and crypto coming in and creating so much more liquidity that the US government's not even managing or they have no idea how much it's become.
Right.
It's recently become $1 trillion asset, but it's
Yes.
$1 trillion asset that they don't have the manipulative control that they did through the Federal Exchange. So it's a fascinating time. And there are a lot of people right now, supposedly 600,000 new millionaires have been minted this past year in America.
Wow.
So this is the thing, that when you're in trouble, when you're in difficult times, when you're struggling, your reality becomes all about the struggle.
Yeah.
The get by. Whereas if you're thinking like a young one who's playful and engaging and creative and new eyes, like you said, you can go and experiment. You can go and do a project that could really be uplifting. And that's what I guess I'm inviting anyone who watches us today. Let's talk, let's chat, let's exchange creative ideas. The biggest thing about an entrepreneur mindset is they're not worried that someone's going to steal their idea. They're actually curious on ways to nurture an idea, share an idea. Because it might be somebody else who gives you some feedback to get you to pivot, and then to look for ways to, in some ways, pay it forward.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing today, I feel, is in education, in communication. It's very much about sharing the ideas. And then if somebody feels that you're the type of person that they might want to do more with less, it's something that could be really creative. So what other question or thought have you had? I have one or two more little slides, I believe, that I was really about us bringing together the art world, the blockchain world. Ethereum was specially designed to be able to do the transactions. That's the thing about that $60 million deal that was done for Peebles' art piece. It was done for 69 million equivalent in Ethereum, which on the weekend would have went up probably over 75 million. And today it's probably like 64 million, because we've had about a 10% high-low in Ethereum in the last week, which strap that on, because on the weekend those things move. They really move. What other little case study, or what do you see is next in the crypto world, the NFT world, the digital world?
What I think, what I'd like to see happen is merging of different of groups or audiences that have never mingled before. I'd like to see that happen. But I think one thing you were just saying just sort of made me remember something else I wanted to talk about today. You're going to have, like, say, art. You're going to have the crypto world. So you have your NFT and you have your Ethereum. But I think the other part that might even come in is 5G. Taking all that and being able to do, like, say, have a mobile art gallery. Instead of having to worry about taking the pictures and worrying about temperature control and all that, you can put them in a digital device and be able to pull up a truck or an RV or whatever and have a display in areas that have never been able to access that stuff before. So again, bring in a new audience in to, build something totally new. So I think that could be something very interesting.
Well, the other combination, which again, this is what's nice about hearing somebody's idea and then being able to bounce it off of each other. This is the brainstorming component that I absolutely love. Is what's happened just recently is Square has bought or invested in a music library. And so what is Square going to do with this music library, given that they're creating a platform where you can invest in Bitcoin, you can have your Ethereum, you can do your transactions. Now they're bringing in musical libraries. Are they going to use that to invite people into their community, to expand their community, to monetize their community? And so that's what's really exciting when you look at the new ecosystems of a Square, of a PayPal. Today I was watching a video of one of my former colleagues, Dave Mackay from the Royal Bank. He was having an interview with MasterCard's CEO. And so they were talking about the importance of trust in the payments industry.
Right.
So the trust of the transaction and the fact that it needs to be safe, smooth, and simple. And reliable, I think, is another key one. And that's what the traditional banking system has right now, is that pretty much, I don't know the last time you've had some disrupted transactions, and given that you probably had several hundred transactions this past year, yet there's some countries that don't have that reliability.
Right.
And so with 5G, I have a feeling there are going to be opportunities to do a whole lot more on 5G. And yet there's also going to be the risks of hacking. And that's the thing that many people who are behind the crypto world, they're so adamant that this can't be hacked, this can't be hacked. Well, if you've got your wallet in your phone and someone takes your wallet, we know that bye-bye, it's gone. So while there's no risk of hacking the code, supposedly, which, again, as a former risk manager, I'm always wondering about that. And it's unhackable until it's hacked, right? So
right.
that's part of the world. Yet somebody who really knows this might say to me, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no way it can be done." And I've actually had that conversation with somebody who's very much committed to the security component of the blockchain. Yet there is a lot to be done in that area. And if that's something you enjoy, this is, again, a shout out to our young ones who might be in their 20s, but also if you're in your 40s and you love this, perhaps take a course on this. Perhaps go online, learn a little bit about this. There might be some really new career opportunities or business opportunities. And that comes from perhaps really being curious and going into it with new eyes instead of thinking you know everything.
Yeah.
So Bill, let's wrap this up. Any last thoughts, questions, or my question there was, what's next? I think your idea of 5G is a great component. The big telcos are doing that right now. Supposedly, there's a battle going on in the States with the different telcos, really trying to get more towers up there, get better coverage. A lot of America still is on dial-up. In Canada, we just had a big purchase. Rogers bought Shaw.
Yeah.
Stock went up about 30%.
Wow.
Rogers were up again today. So that's going to set up more battleground in the out west. And so we're fortunate. I think TELUS and Bell Canada and Rogers do a very good job.
Yes.
And yet it can improve. And with that improvement, there will be, again, opportunities to have different types of community exchange, connection, education that is pretty exciting.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So anything else, any questions, or is that a good wrap for today? I think we've gone.
Well, I guess one question, I guess, for everybody to think about, I guess, on the business side is what kind of other industries will be built from this? I guess where I'm going there with there's the big thing against the whole crypto thing right now is the amount of energy. So, what kind of other industries will blossom from all this? What do you want to call them? I'm thinking accessories from the old sales day, but like what kind of new things are going to blossom from that? That's what I'm curious about as well. What's new going to happen?
I think that's a great question. And just off the top of my head, I think you'll have some ways to enhance energy, maximize, optimize the idea that you can use energy in a more effective and efficient manner. I believe the whole green argument is about that. And so we'll be seeing a lot of new products come to market. Some of them will be scams and some of them will work. And I guess that's one of the keys to remember is to be discerning. if it sounds too good to be true, perhaps it is. So if you get involved in these markets, use real risk managing tools. Avoid putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
We've talked from the very beginning when we started saying crypto might be something you would like to look at. For our age, 2 to 5% of your portfolio would be a nice exposure. If you start losing sleep over it, perhaps reduce your risk. And if you've got a little bit more in terms of, as Michael was saying, from a young person's perspective, you've probably got more opportunity to have learning cycles. Yes. So we encourage you, if you're at a younger age, this is where you can put the time, the energy, the finances behind it and let it roll a little bit. Whereas if you're moving into your retirement, maybe 5%, let it roll, manage it and have some fun with it. Mm-hmm. And combine the education component to it. I have a feeling it can really be that win-win type of arrangement.
Definitely.
Well, with that, Bill, I'd like to, again, thank you so much for your participation, your wonderful insights, co-hosting Canada's Startup. This will be on Lead Pedal Radio also.
Very cool.
We're also collaborating with Skills Clinic here in Brampton, and this, again, can be seen on Continual Shift on YouTube or on Facebook Live. And with that, any last words, Bill, as we bring it to a close?
Just everybody have fun, be curious.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, and wishing you the very best, and we'll be back at you in about a week's time. Ciao for now.
Thanks, Dave. We'll see you, everybody.